overwhelmed.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أإذا متنا وكنا وقالوا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا رأوا آية يستسخرون وقالوا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Almighty Allah continued telling him the attitude of the unbelievers was his message, that whenever they see a clear miracle in support of his claim of prophethood, they will take it, they will take it as an object of ridicule. وَقَالُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. They said that this is nothing but sorcery. Instead, they would demand for a miracle. And whenever the miracle is provided, instead of them to believe, they will take the miracle as an object of ridicule and mockery. Moreover, they will condemn the miracle as an act of sorcery, that it is nothing but sorcery. وَقَالُوا إِنْ هَذَا, they said this is nothing but سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ, an open sorcery and magic.
أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا إِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ.
Then with regard, that is their attitude towards the miracle that they will demand. And with regard to the resurrection, whenever the Prophet ﷺ reiterated the fact that they are going to be raised back to life after their death, then they will tell him, they will respond in wonder that, Aiza mitna? Is it after our death? What? You mean after our death? After we are dead, وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا, we turn to dust, وَإِزَامًا, we turn into bones. Here, the dust is mentioned first before the bones. Of course, we know a dead man will turn into bones first and foremost before turning into dust. But they started from the ultimate matter, the ultimate substance that a dead man will turn into. That is the dust. Aiza mitna wa kunna turaban. Is it after we are dead and turned into dust? Wa izaman, as if it is the reversal series of decomposition of man that is mentioned here. Because a dead man, first and foremost, will start decaying in his grave and turn into bones. Then the bones will be rotten. Then after this stage, the rotten bones will turn into dust. But here you can see the dust is mentioned first so as to bring it in in reversal series. Aiza mitna, is it after we are dead? Wa kunna turaban, and turn into dust. Wa izaman, and bones, because they will turn into bones first, then from rotten bones they will turn to dust. Wa izaman ayinna lamab'usuna, does that mean that we are going to be raised back to life? We are going to be resurrected after all these destructive processes that we will undergo? after having undergone these destructive processes and turned into dust, then will be raised back to life, as Ubay ibn Khalaf brought the rotten bones to the Prophet ﷺ, saying, Man yuhil izama wa hiya ramim. Who is going to raise these rotten bones? Who is going to raise them back to life when they are rotten? Ainna lamabusuna. Are we going to be resurrected? And also our forefathers of old age, you mean they too are going to be raised back to life? They were asking the Prophet ﷺ, our aba'una lawalun, and also our forefathers. Aw here doesn't mean O, it means of course including, because aw in Arabic language may be used to mean O, that is to say, are we going to be raised back to life? Or our forefathers. But here, aw doesn't mean O, it means and. It means wow. Wa aba'un al-awwalun, that is including our forefathers of old age. You mean they too are going to be raised back to life? Because they died much, much earlier than our time. That means that you mean not only are we going to be resurrected, even our forefathers of old age are going to be resurrected.
قُلْ نَعَمْ وَأَنْتُمْ دَاخِلُونَ.
Answer them, O Prophet of God, and say, Naam, of course, yes. وَأَنْتُمْ دَاخِلُونَ, and most humiliated you are going to be on that day. That is, most humiliated you will be on that day. You will be resurrected in a most humiliative condition. That is, Almighty Allah is going to humiliate you on that day.
إنما هي زجرة واحدة فإذا هم ينظرون.
What does it take to raise you back to life? Does it take much? Does it take anything? فإنما هي زجرة واحدة. It only takes a single blow in the horn by the angel Israfil. A single shout in the horn will bring you back on your feet from your grave. فإنما هي زجرة واحدة. It takes only a single cry, a single shout in the horn by angel Israfil. فإذا هم ينظرون. Behold, they will be standing on their feet, looking on, waiting for the judgment.
وقالوا يا ويلنا هذا يوم الدين.
You can see that is why the events of that day are narrated in the past tense, meaning that nothing will stop this from taking place. وقالوا, he did not say they are going to say, he said they have already said. Now it is the conversation that will transpire between the unbelievers on the judgment day that is being narrated here. Yet the events are being narrated in the past tense, as if they have already taken place. As far as the Almighty is concerned, there is nothing such as future events. All things have already taken their place. In fact, there is nothing. It is the events are not being initiated now. They are being unfolded. Events are unfolding themselves, not that they are taking place right now. As far as the Almighty Allah is concerned, the residents of paradise are already there, and the inmates of hellfire are already there. Things are already unfolding themselves before our eyes, but not the Almighty Allah. So the Almighty Allah, nothing is considered a future event. All things have already taken place. And this is one. Secondly, the reason why they are being narrated in the past tense is that because nothing will stop them from taking place. So they are considered in the past. They are considered as past events. Waqalu, they said, on the day of resurrection, the unbelievers mocking you, telling you that how are they going to be raised back to life after their deaths. On that day, they will shout while rising from their respective graves. They will cry out and say, wow, ya waylana, wow to us, haza yawmuddin. Today is the day of retribution. Deen in Arabic language may mean the religion, ad-deen, which is the most common concept, the most common sense to this word, ad-deen. That is, inna dina inda Allah Islam, means the only right religion in the sight of Allah is Islam. That is deen, one. Secondly, deen may mean retribution, may mean recompense, just like Malik Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment, not the sovereign of the day of religion. No, deen here means, in the Fatiha, means judgment or retribution or the day of requital. Just like it is, just like the common Arabic saying, kama tudinu tudanu. As you behave, as you do to others, so you are going to be done. That is, if you as you treat others, so are you going to be treated. Kama tudinu tudanu, from deen. Haza yawmuddin. Today is the day of retribution, the day of judgment, the day of recompense, the day of requital.
هذا يوم الفصل الذي كنتم به تكذبون.
Today is the day of judgment, the day of distinction, the right or wrong, good and bad, righteous acts and sinful acts. Today, all acts are going to be are going to be requited for. Righteous deeds are going to be recompensed for, while sinful acts are going to be requited for. هذا يوم الفصل الذي. Today is the day of distinction between right and wrong. الفصل الذي كنتم به تكذبون. The day that you have been disbelieving before you die.
احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم وما كانوا يعبدون.
احشروا الذين ظلموا. On that day, the criminals, the disbelieving criminals, because zulmu here implies idolatry to the Almighty Allah, because the technical definition of zulm in Islam is to place something in its wrong place. What الشيء في غير موضعه. That is how scholars technically define as zulm. So, when the right of the Almighty Allah is taken away and accorded to idols, His right of lordship, His right of being one and only God, then no injustice can be any graver than this, right? That is why the idolaters here are described as criminals, as unjust. Ushirul lazina zalamu. The Almighty Allah said in the chapter Surat Luqman, Inna shirka la zulmun azim. Certainly to associate any partner with God is the gravest injustice ever. وَالْكَافِرُونَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Certainly the unbelievers are the real wrongdoers. وَحُشِرُوا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. The Almighty Allah will command the angels to gather together. He will command the angels saying, "Ushirul lazina zalamu." Gather together all the disbelieving criminals. Zalamu. Wa azwajahum, as well as their devilish partners in disbelief, either in the human form or in the jinn form. All should be gathered together. Wa ma kanu ya'buduna, as well as the objects they used to worship, besides the Almighty Allah.
من دون الله فاهدوهم إلى صراط الجحيم.
The objects they used to worship besides the Almighty Allah, whether such objects were in the form of idols or in the form of those who believe in, those who call themselves atheists, do not believe in God, of course, those who lead them in atheism represent their gods. So they worship those who convince them that there is no God. Whoever convinces you that there is no God, then you consider him as your God. Whatever you worship, either in the form of man, that is, something is forbidden in Islam. But you know that if you avoid it, you are going to harm the feelings of somebody that he might be your superior, either in the office or somewhere or anywhere else. You are afraid that you might offend his feelings if you avoid things that are forbidden by Islam. So you commit them so as to please him. So as long as you do this, then you consider him your God. Although if you are a Muslim, that does not, if it is not an act of shirk, like if it does not amount to denouncing your faith, it is still a crime. It's not considered apostasy as long as you are still a Muslim. But you continue committing certain things that are forbidden in Islam so as to please some people. So you consider them your semi-gods. But that does not perpetuate you in the hellfire. It might take you there if you are not forgiven. But you are not going to be perpetuated there. Because as long as you believe in the Almighty Allah in His oneness, you believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no matter how criminal you might be, after your death, if one is not forgiven, one might visit hellfire. But eventually he will be taken out of the hellfire, washed and taken to paradise. But if it amounts to apostasy, that you denounce your faith, you get convinced that the religion, that you step out of Islam, then whatever you take as your object of worshipping, whatever you are devoted to as your God, then the Almighty Allah will gather the idolaters with the objects they used to worship, either in the form of idols or in the form of any other object. They will be gathered together. And if it is human beings and you worship them by their consent, how would you worship a human being? If you worship somebody, that is, you want to convert to Islam, one might be an atheist. He wants to convert to Islam, but he might offend the feelings of somebody. So that person that he doesn't want to offend, turns as his object of worshipping. So he's going to be gathered together on that day with that particular object of worshipping, or object that he used to worship, and you will be thrown into hellfire alongside that person. And if it is in the form of idols, the unbelievers will be gathered together with the idols and will be taken to hellfire. When this verse and a similar verse to it was revealed in the chapter, the prophets, the Almighty Allah said, "Innakum wa ma ta'buduna min dunillahi hasabu jahannama antum laha waridun." You and the objects you worship besides the Almighty Allah are going to be thrown into the hellfire. The unbelievers were worried. The Meccan pagans were very much worried when this verse was revealed. In fact, they didn't know what to do. So there was this man, Nadr ibn al-Haris, that was considered very smart among them. He said, well, there is virtually no cause for worry. Muhammad claimed that we are going to be thrown into hellfire with our deities, with the idols we worship. So let's go and ask him. Does that imply that whoever worships anything whatsoever besides the Almighty Allah, he is going to be thrown into the hellfire along with that thing? If this is the case, then of course we are not the only ones that will visit the hellfire with our objects of worshiping. After all, Christians worship Jesus Christ. Jews worship Ezra. Does that mean that Christians, along with what they worship, too, are going to be thrown into hellfire? Let's go and ask them. They went and asked the Prophet ﷺ. They failed to understand that they are dealing with an extraordinary situation. Here is not the Prophet that is talking. It's the Almighty Allah that used the Prophet as a medium through whom he communicates to his creatures. When they threw this challenge to the Prophet ﷺ, the Almighty Allah took up the challenge and answered them that innal ladzina sabaqa lahum minnal husna ulaika anha mubaduna la yasma'una hasisaha wa hum fi mashtahat anfusuhum khalidun. Those to whom we have already given our word of preordination that they are going to paradise, ulaika anha mubaduna, they are far away from the hellfire. In fact, la yasma'una hasisaha, they wouldn't even hear the sound of the fire as the fire is burning, and as the fire burns the unbelievers, they wouldn't even hear its sound, let alone being thrown there. La yasma'una hasisaha. So, ushru alladhina zalamu, the Almighty Allah will command the angels on the day of resurrection that gather together all the disbelieving criminals, wa'azwajum, as well as their that is their friends, their devilish partners in associating partners with Allah, that is in the form of jinns or in the form of human beings, those always encouraging them to practice idolatry. وَمَا كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ, as well as the objects they used to worship and the objects to whom they were so devoted. مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَادُوهُمُ, beside the Almighty Allah, those they worship beside the Almighty Allah, فَادُوهُمُ إِلَى صِرَاطِ الْجَحِيمِ, and then direct them on the path of the hellfire.
وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ,
direct them to the path of hellfire, and after when they were gathered together, or when after being gathered together and fixed on the path, when they are placed on the path of the hellfire, as they will set out to the hellfire, the Almighty Allah will command again, وَكِفُوهُمُ, stop them before they go. إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ, for surely they are going to be questioned before taking them to hellfire.
مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنَاصَرُونَ,
Even the believers that abandon your religion and follow us, should the promise of Muhammad would turn true, should the promise be true, we promise you that we are going to take your burden off your shoulders. The burden of your sin, we are going to relieve you of the burden of your sin. So where is this promise? مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنَاصَرُونَ, why won't you help each other as you promised in the world?
بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ,
بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ. Although this is not the only argument between the leaders of the unbelievers and their followers before they will be taken to hellfire. In other passages of the Holy Quran, the Almighty Allah narrates to us argument between the leaders of the unbelievers and their followers. In Surat al-Malik, this path that will lead you to hellfire, the angels in charge of the hellfire will ask them. Then they will respond and say, of course, a warner was sent to us. قالوا بلى قد جاءنا, فكذبنا, but yet we disbelieved in him, we rejected his message. وَقُلْنَا مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. We said that the merciful Lord did not reveal anything in terms of scripture. إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ كَبِيرٍ. وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْصُرُونَ بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ. On that day, they will show no sign of arrogance as they used to in the world. بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ. Certainly today they are so submissive to the will of Allah that argue with His apostles in the form of angels, because it is the angels that will be communicating with them on behalf of the Almighty Allah. بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ.
وأقبل بعضهم على بعض يتساءلون.
Then وَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ. On that day, أَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ, they will turn to each other and will be exchanging word of blame. يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. They will be asking each other, why didn't you? Why did you encourage me? Why didn't you? يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. They will be exchanging words of blames. The leaders will be accusing the late. The late first and foremost will accuse the leaders. That is, the followers will accuse their leaders that why did you lead us astray? You promised us that you are going to lead us aright. You promised us that we will have no cause to worry. Even if we die, even after our death, if we are raised back to life, you are there for us. But today we consider you two as submissive as we are. So why won't you offer any help as you used to promise? They will turn to each other, exchanging words of blames.
قالوا إنكم كنتم تاتوننا عن اليمين.
قالوا بل لن تكونوا مؤمنين. قالوا, the followers will challenge their leaders. إنكم كنتم تاتوننا عن اليمين. Remember that in the world, you used to come to us and promise us all sorts of things that we shouldn't follow the Prophet, that we should follow you. You promise us everything good. Yamin here does not mean on the right hand as it used to. When Yamin is mentioned, the first concept that normally creeps into the mind of anybody familiar with Arabic language is the right side. Yamin means the right, Shimal the left. But here it doesn't mean that you used to come to us by our right hand. No. You used to come and promise us anything good. Since Arabs are used to ascribing anything good to the right and anything bad to the left. That's why the word here is used. This is one. Secondly, Yamin may be derived from the word Yumnu in Arabic. Yumnu means barakah. You promise us anything, you promise us all sorts of blessings, all sorts of nice things if we follow you. And here we are being taken to hellfire and you could render no help. Kuntum tatunana anil yamin. You used to come to us and promise us anything good should we follow you, and we did. Yet today you are of no avail to us.
قالوا بل لم تكونوا مؤمنين.
Then the leaders, the followers, when the followers challenge the leader would respond, including what the followers would say is the verse in the chapter Surat where the Almighty Allah said, يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ لَكُنَّا مُؤْمِنِينَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا أَنَحْنُ صَدَدْنَاكُمْ عَنِ الْهُدَىٰ بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَكُمْ بَلْ كُنتُمْ مُجْرِمِينَ. Those who are despised will challenge their leaders that if not for you, we would have been believers. Because we would have been convinced to accept the right religion, but you are the ones that persisted that we shouldn't. In fact, you encourage us that we shouldn't believe. If not for you, we would have been believers. Then the leader would answer them saying, are we the ones that debar you from the guidance when it was preached to you? Bal kuntum mujmi. No, you are by instinct criminals. That is why you didn't believe. Qalu bal lam takunu mu'minin. The leaders will say that no, it's not by me, it's not by our encouragement. In fact, we could have encouraged you. We didn't. You yourself say we encourage you. You didn't say we force you. We didn't force you, did we? We didn't. Then that means that you have yourselves to blame. You shouldn't blame us. Bal lam takunu mu'minin. The only thing is that you are not believers. You did not believe in the message. Had you believed in it, you would have declared your that you would have declared your submission to the right religion.
عليكم من سلطان بل كنتم قوما طاغين.
وما كان لنا عليكم من سلطان. The readers will continue saying, وَمَا كَانَ لَنَا عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. We have no power over you. We have no power to compel you. To compel you not to believe. بَلْ كُنْتُمْ قَوْمًا طَاغِينَ. Only that because you are misguided, that is, you are in obvious error, that is why you didn't believe. The only thing that stops you from believing is that you yourself did not believe in the message, not that we have any power over you and we compel you. In fact, you could have still believed in the message if you are guided. But because you yourself were not guided, that is why you did not accept the right religion.
فحق علينا قول ربنا إنا لذائقون.
It was not only we, said the leaders, that showed arrogance to the message. You too showed your own portion of arrogance to the message. So, بل كنتم قوما طاغين فحق علينا قول ربنا. And the reason why all this happened, the unbelievers will say, حق علينا قول ربنا. It is the word of our Lord that He preordained us. The Almighty Allah said, لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ أَجْمَعِينَ. Right from the beginning, He said, I am going to fill the hellfire with human beings and jinns. So, it is this divine word that was imposed on us and on you as well. We have no choice but to be what we are preordained to be by the Almighty Allah. That is why we did not believe. فَحَقَّ عَلَيْنَا قَوْلُ رَبِّنَا. The word of our Lord become executed in us. That is why we couldn't believe. Inna lazaiquna. That the Almighty Allah preordained and predestined that we are going to test the chastisement. Zawqiyah means testing something with your tongue. But the reason why the word is used to mean suffering punishment is that when somebody suffers punishment, he will feel it from every part of his body. In fact, when you test something with your tongue, it's not all your body that will feel it, only your tongue probably, of course, then your nervous system will receive the message. But in the case of punishment, all parts of human body will feel it. That is why no word can express the pain as much as zawq, testing. We are preordained to test the punishment, so we have no choice.
فأغويناكم إنا كنا غاوين.
فأغويناكم, we misled you. Inna kunna gawin, for we ourselves were not guided. We ourselves have gone astray. That's why you cannot expect somebody who strayed from the right path to lead you aright. No, whoever strayed from the right path will lead you nowhere but to misguidance. فَأَغْوَيْنَاكُمْ, we misled you. إِنَّا كُنَّا غَاوِينَ, for we ourselves have gone astray.
إنهم يومئذ في العذاب مشتركون.
On that day, the leaders and the laid will be gathered in the punishment. They will share the terrible punishment in the hellfire. In the chapter Surat Al-A'raf, the Almighty Allah mentioned to us how the leaders and the laid will be thrown into the hellfire and how would they be cursing each other in the hellfire. While the followers will say to the Almighty Allah, Rabbana هؤلاء أضلونا فآتهم عذابا ضعفا من النار قال لكل. Oh our Lord, these are the ones that misled us, that led us astray. So we pray that you may double their punishment for misleading us. فآتهم عذابا ضعفا من النار. Give them double their punishment from the hellfire. In the chapter Surat Al-Ahzab, the Almighty Allah, while narrating the same incidents, He said, the followers will say, وَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا إِنَّا أَطَعْنَا سَادَتَنَا وَكُبَرَاءَنَا فَأَضَلُّونَا السَّبِيلَ رَبَّنَا آتِهِمْ ضِعْفَيْنِ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ وَالْعَنْهُمْ لَعْنًا كَثِيرًا. They say, Oh our Lord, we have certainly followed our leaders, our elders, سَادَتَنَا وَكُبَرَاءَنَا فَأَضَلُّونَا السَّبِيلَ, and they led us astray. Oh our Lord, Rabbana, atim di'ifayni min al-azabi. Give them double punishments for misleading us. Wal'anhum, and curse them. La'anan kasiran, a great curse. La'anan kasiran. And that's how they will be cursing each other in the hellfire. A'udhu billah.
إنا كذلك نفعل بالمجرمين.
Inna kazalika naf'alu bil mujrimin. The Almighty Allah said, it is in this manner that will deal with the disbelieving criminals on the day of resurrection. No any other manner. It is in this manner that we are going to deal with the disbelieving criminals. Here, since the way and manner they are going to be dealt with is mentioned in details here in the Holy Quran, it means a word of warning is sent out for them to retrieve from their unbelief to accept the religion before their death. Once they are dead, then they are left with no choice but to face the consequences. Whenever verses of this kind are being recited in the Holy Quran, it is not the Meccan pagans that are meant now. These verses, this admonitory message is of no avail now to anyone that is dead. Messages or admonitions in the Holy Quran are meant only for those who are still alive. Somebody that just died a minute ago is no longer meant with this message. You can only pray for him if he died as a Muslim, but the message is meant only for those that are still alive. Once somebody is dead, no amount of preaching, no amount of admonition that can be of any avail to him. Even if he's a righteous person, admonition will never help him as the moment he dies. فَإِنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُشْتَرِكُونَ إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَفْعَلُ بِالْمُجْرِمِينَ. This is the same manner in which we are going to deal. This is the manner in which we are going to deal with the disbelieving criminals. The Meccan pagans to whom the Prophet ﷺ recited these verses directly are no more meant by these verses, because they have already faced the consequences and no preaching will help them. So it is meant for those who are still alive. إنهم
كانوا إذا قيل لهم لا إله إلا الله يستكبرون.
Why all this? As if a question is asked. Oh our Lord, you created them. You produced them out of nothing. In fact, you told us the process through which you brought them into existence. So why this terrible punishment? Why? The Almighty Allah said, the gravest crime they committed ever is that إِنَّهُمْ إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. The greatest crime, of course, any human being can ever commit is whenever this kalimatu shahada is recited to them as an invitation to come and pronounce it, so as to attest to the fact that there is no any deity, there is no any God worthy of being worshipped except Allah. Instead of them to pronounce it as simple as it is, no word can be any simpler. Just to pronounce La ilaha illallah. Instead of them to pronounce it, believing it in their mind, and apply it is what the word entails in terms of obligations and devotions. Instead of them to do that, yes, takbirun, they will turn their backs in arrogance to this invitation. So, for you to understand the gravity of this crime, you can pick an example of somebody in his house, a family head, just some of his children and words decided to ignore him as the head of the family. Imagine your son living under the same roof with you, decides to ignore you as the head of the family. He will come even and pass by you without greeting you, without saying hi or hello or good morning sir, good morning dad. He wouldn't say anything. In arrogance, and he is still being taken care of by you in terms of feeding, clothing, everything. Of course, he's under your shelter. Yet he decides not to even recognize you as the head of the family. Do you think that he can? Do you think that there is any insult that is more painful than this? Is there any? There is none. In fact, I believe that he will make you to regret the day his mother conceived him. So, you did not create your son. You only married his mother. You got her pregnant. Then she gave birth to him. And of course, by this virtue, he becomes your son. And in the case of the Almighty Allah, He initiated our creation out of nothing. We don't, before we were created, we don't know the details of the process that we underwent before we come into existence. The Almighty Allah, not only did He know, He initiated the process and He brought us through that process. Then some of us decide not only to ignore Him, to associate partners with Him, and to take His right of lordship and accord it to the idols they manufacture with their hands. Assuming that boy living under your roof, calling himself your son, of course your son biologically, instead of greeting you, he went and got himself a small idol. Every morning he will come and greet that idol besides you and just go. All the respect you deserve from him, you will give to that idol. Or you got somebody, in fact a mortal like you, he got him and put him in the house and he kept greeting him, respecting him as his father. Don't you think that it will even make you start suspecting his mother, whether she truly conceived him from you or from somewhere else? That will make you even start doubting his legitimacy, whether he's truly your son or not. But because you cannot have any bastard as far as the creatures of Allah are concerned. You cannot have anyone that the Almighty Allah will doubt that he is not that Auzubillah that created him. No. No matter how arrogant, no matter how disrespectful he say to the Almighty, he is still a product of the same process of creation the Almighty Allah initiated. Right? So you can see with this, it means that since he still remains a creature produced by the Almighty Allah, and he decided to ignore him as his God, because you cannot hide anywhere and claim that there is no God where God doesn't exist at that particular place. Wherever an atheist said that God doesn't exist, you know what he did? He just like your son, looking at you face to face, looking at you in your eyes, and say, you do not exist. And if you take him to a psychiatric hospital for checkup, so as to ascertain whether he is in right senses or not, then he was issued a clean bill of health, that this boy, he is well and sound. What action do you think that you would take against him? In fact, no action can be too tough on him, as long as he is being issued a clean bill of health by a psychiatrist, that he is well and sound. Then it means that that boy in fact, the insult he gave you is of highest order. So how about the Almighty Allah? So that is that. Innahum iza qila lahum, whenever they are invited to this simple word to come and say La ilaha illallah yastakbirun, they will turn in arrogance. And this, you can see the virtue of Kalimatu Shahada, the virtue of zikr, La ilaha illallah. This simple word is the same word all the prophets who were sent by the Almighty Allah invited their respective nations to pronounce, first and foremost, as the fundamental requirement for the acceptance of the religion. That is, for them to be considered Muslims, for them to be considered as those who accepted the message, they must, as a fundamental requirement, pronounce this word at least once in a lifetime. Say La ilaha illallah. That is why the virtue of zikr can never be overemphasized. The Prophet ﷺ said, Jaddidu imanakum biqawli la ilaha illallah. Renew your faith by pronouncing La ilaha illallah every now and then. That is why scholars of Tasawwuf always give their disciples this zikr to keep pronouncing it, so as to keep renewing their faith. In fact, it serves as nourishment for the faith to be pronouncing this word, La ilaha illallah. Because there's virtually no crime that this word will never do away with. This word is even too strong for crime. A criminal act needs only astaghfirullah for you to be forgiven. Once the Almighty accepts your istighfar, He will forgive you. As for La ilaha illallah is too strong for crimes. Rather, it is in search of unbelief. That is the gravest crime ever. It needs an unbeliever to pronounce it, only for him, not only to be forgiven, to be washed out from his unbelief. And no matter how long years he spent in the state of unbelief, once he pronounces this word, he is as good as any Muslim. You see how powerful the word is? That is why, based on this, you can understand that whoever criticizes those pronouncing La ilaha illallah then he has already fallen under those who are addressed by this verse. There are some people who claim to be Muslims, they have their mosques, but whenever they come to pray, they will criticize La ilaha illallah and just pronounce it zikr. They will always criticize it. If you want to know those that are condemned by this verse, who are they? You go to some mosques of those people who claim to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Based on that, they criticize zikr and ahl zikr. If you are to go to their mosques and pronounce La ilaha illallah, la, of course they will start pursuing you, right? They will feel offended. They will not allow you to escape. Why did they feel offended? And if you go to any temple, a church, or any place of worshiping, and you shouted La ilaha illallah, of course the people of that temple are bound to feel offended, right? So why is there similarity between some people calling themselves Sunnites or those following Sunnah and pagans who do not want to hear this word? Some people call themselves Ahl Sunnah, and what the worst thing in fact the thing that they had to hear is people pronouncing zikr La ilaha illallah, pronouncing La ilaha illallah. And of course, non-Muslims will never tolerate this word as well. Why are they? What do they have in common against this kalimat shahada? This is a persistent question that they need to answer. What do they have in common against kalimat shahada? They have their mosques. They will say wherever you come across zikr in the Holy Quran, it means the recitation of the Holy Quran, not La ilaha illallah. Why the Prophet ﷺ said in a tradition reported by Imam Malik in his collection of Al-Muwatta, أفضل ما قلته أنا والنبيون من قبلي لا إله إلا الله. The best thing I ever pronounced, I and all the prophets who preceded me, who came before me, is La ilaha illallah. So I wonder, how will somebody in his right senses will criticize al-zikr and call himself the follower of Sunnah? Why the Almighty Allah mentioned in the chapter of Surah Al-Azab, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ إِسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Suddenly, there is a good example for you to learn from the Prophet ﷺ for anyone who believes in the Almighty Allah and in the last day, and then engage in zikr a great deal. وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Because of the time factor, we have to stop here. When we come, inshallah, we'll continue where we stop. May God forgive us. May God accept our devotions, our prayers, our fasting, by the way to the Prophet ﷺ. May God help Islam and Muslim. May God grant good health to Maulana Sheikh. May God prolong his lifespan. This is Alhamdulillah.
Remember when he overwhelmed you with drowsiness, giving security from him, and sent down upon you from the sky rain by which to purify you and remove from you the evil suggestions